Alright, this is the advanced audio editing on Adobe Audition lesson. We're going to edit a story together about a jazz musician called Micah Barnes. I have some music from him right here. Okay, I also have some clips from him that have been isolated already.
1964 or 1962.
And we've got a voice track here from the reporter. Oops, let's go back to the beginning of that.
Canadian crooner has released the video for his track.
Okay, so we've got all the elements here. Now we have to put it together. So we're going to go up here and we're going to create a new multi-track session. I'm going to call it Jazz Musician. Okay, oops, if I could spell that so much easier. Jazz Musician. Okay, it's going to save to my USB drive, build drive. Check that. Make sure you know where it's going to save to. Okay, 44100 is the correct sample rate, bit depth 32, master is stereo. All that's good. You don't have to change any of the settings. Okay, so we've got our three tracks here that we can work in. If you want to, down here at the bottom right, you'll see a plus and minus sign, a couple of plus and minus signs here. If you wanted to have more tracks, you hit the minus, and if you want to have fewer tracks, you can hit the plus. Okay, you can go down to even just one track. Okay, I prefer to have, oh, I've done it now. I can't get back to the three tracks, can I? All right, so I've got the tracks here. Now I'm going to take the music and I'm going to bring him in on track number 1. And I think that looks a little low here, so I'm going to boost it up so I can see it more clearly. There we go. That's a good level, and let's have a listen.
Did I hear you say you got hurt?
Okay, so at that point, I actually want to bring the level down. So that's how I'm going to put a cut in there. So up here, you've got Move tool and the Razor tool, and then the Slip tool rather, and the Time Selection tool. So I'm going to choose the Razor tool, and I'm going to put a cut in right about there. Okay, so what that does now is I'm going to go back to the Move tool so I don't do anything that I don't want to do. When I click on here, I've got this little fade in, so I can fade it up, and over here I can fade it down, and that's what I'm going to do. This track, I'm going to actually lower the level way down so that it's underneath the reporter. Okay, so let's have a listen to how that sounds.
You say you got hurt.
Bring it down even a little bit more. All right, here's our voice track, voice number 1. I'm going to bring that in on track number 2. And let's have a listen how that sounds.
You got hurt.
Micah Barnes, Canadian crooner, has released the video for his track Welcome to the Club, part of his album Vegas Breeze. The jazz album was inspired by the 60s. The style, he says he followed by listening to unusual songs in the showroom era.
Okay, I think her level could be a little hotter, so I'm just going to bring it up a little bit there so she doesn't get drowned out by the music. Now at this point, I actually want to cut because I don't want him in behind. I'm going to shift this over. I don't want him underneath his voice clip, okay? So let's just move this down a little bit. Make some room for the voice clip, okay? And that is Micah clip number 1, and I'm going to bring him on third track. Okay, as I said, I'm going to move that out of the way. Let's move it further down. I don't want it completely gone because I'm going to bring it back in at some point. Let's go back here now and listen to see how this works together.
Got hurt.
Micah Barnes, Canadian crooner, has released the video for his track Welcome to the Club, part of his album Vegas Breeze. The jazz album was inspired by the 60s. The style, he says he followed by listening to unusual songs in the showroom era.
I didn't really quite realize that I was bringing songs.
That seems a little bit harsh, so I'm going to just stretch his music out a little bit, but then I'm going to fade it. So it just seems to come in a little bit harsh. Let's fade it softer that way. You can actually change the angle of the fade, so it's like this. Okay, so let's hear again.
By listening to unusual songs in the showroom era.
I didn't really quite realize that I was bringing songs from that sort of showroom era to the band. We're like putting together different arrangements, different approaches, and figuring out like what supports my vocal the most. Everything that you hear on the recording would have been possible in 1964 or 1962. There's nothing modern on it. There's no synthesizers or drum beats or anything like that. You know, it's all real instruments and real singing.
Okay, so I'm going to take the end of this because I kind of like having it come back in, and we're just going to slide it back in to line up with when he takes that little pause in his breath.
Synthesizers or drum beats or anything like that. You know, it's all real instruments and real singing.
Welcome, welcome to the club.
You know what? I don't like that. I don't like his vocals coming in. So I'm going to actually cut part of that out. We'll make a cut here. There we go. And I'm going to take this part and I'm going to delete that. Go back over here and shift this over. So it overlaps a little bit. I like the sound of the piano coming up. And I'm going to bring it up, fade it up on that, and then bring up the rest of it a little bit hotter. Okay, so let's hear how this sounds.
Nothing modern on it. There's no synthesizers or drum beats or anything like that. You know, it's all real instruments and real singing.
Did I hear the feeling when you're stung?
Okay, at that point I want to bring the level down again. So I'm going to go up to this option up here and I'm going to put in, hold on, I got to find my spot again.
Did I hear the feeling when you're stung?
Right about there is where I want to put it in. And then go on the timeline and bring my level down again so her voice track can come in. I do want to kind of boost that up a little bit. So bring the level down here. Hopefully that's not going to mess that up.
That, you know, it's all real instruments and real singing.
Did I hear the feeling when you're stung? Now.
Okay, I messed it up. I'm going to bring the level back down a bit. You probably bring it up here, bring it up here, and then bring it down. So let's hear that.
Real instruments and real singing.
Did I hear the feeling when you're stung? Now you know.
It's still too hot on that spot. So I'm going to actually make it cut so I can be a little finer on that. There we go, and then I can lower this level so that her voice track can come in. Go back over here, and let's see how that sounds better.
Instruments and real singing.
Did I hear the feeling when you're stung?
Okay, so let's get her voice track again. We'll bring her in here.
Stung.
Vegas Breeze was released when the COVID-19 pandemic started. He had to perform a 14 days tour online.
Oh yeah.
I'll go back and I'm just going to bring it down a little bit more. Let's try this again.
Did I hear the feeling when you're stung?
Vegas Breeze was released when the COVID-19 pandemic started. He had to perform a 14 days tour online.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I like that oh yeah in there. So let's see if we can do this again. Actually, I'm going to make a cut. It's easier to still work with a cut. Then I can shift back here, and I'm going to bring it right back up. Get the oh yeah in there, and then we'll fade it back down.
A 14 days tour online.
Oh yeah.
All right, let's see if we can get the spot on the volume there.
Oh yeah.
I may actually need to get in a little bit tighter. Oops. So I can see it more clearly. I think that's the oh yeah after that.
Oh yeah.
That's where I want it. So let's put a marker in here and bring it right down. See if that makes a difference.
The COVID-19 pandemic started. He had to perform a 14 days tour online.
Oh yeah. You've fallen down the ladder of...
Still not getting the fine edit that I want on that, so let's get in here and just do this again. Cut. We'll bring our levels right down there. All right. And we're going to bring his second clip in. Right. Oops. I've lost. Hold on. I got to give myself the other track. Let's move this down to here, and it's going to come in there.
Perform a 14 days tour online.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna say it was exhausting. I'm not gonna lie. It was hard. We did a 14.
Okay, at that point, I want to lower the levels again completely. So let's put a cut in here, and I'm going to fade down here. And this one, I'm going to bring it way down and disappear, actually. So let's make another cut here and shift that part away again after his clip. So let's go back here to the, oops, not too far.
I was bringing songs from that sort of showroom era to the band. We're like putting together different arrangements, different
approaches, and figuring out like what supports my vocal the most. Everything that you hear on the recording would have been possible in 1964 or 1962. There's nothing modern on it. There's no synthesizers or drum beats or anything like that. You know, it's all
real instruments and real singing.
Did I hear the feeling when you're stung?
Vegas Breeze was released when the COVID-19 pandemic started. He had to perform a 14 days tour online.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna say it was exhausting. I'm not gonna lie. It was hard. We did a 14 city tour right from my living room, and it was weird. And then eventually,
I think I need to fade this down here. We need to zoom in a bit. There we go. Get this fade here. Okay, we can go back there, and we need her voice track again, I think. Voice track number 3. Back in here. Let's hear that sounds.
I'm gonna say it was exhausting. I'm not gonna lie. It was hard. We did a 14 city tour right from my living room, and it was weird. And then eventually, as we came in and out of lockdown, I would say I got a lot more used to the online performing.
With the new wave, he decided to create a new song and video. That's
a little tight. I'm just going to move her just a bit. Put a breathing space there.
Performing.
With the new wave, he decided to create a new song and video. That's why now you can find Welcome to the Club on YouTube, iTunes, and other audio streaming platforms.
Okay, that's where I'm going to put a break in because her sign off is after this. And then I'm going to move her sign off down so we can get a bit of sound up. Then we're going to move his music back in underneath some of this. Let's see how far we have to go here. We're going to fade it in again. Let's hear how we sound.
To the online performing.
With the new wave, he decided to create a new song and video. That's why now you can find Welcome to the Club on YouTube, iTunes, and other audio streaming platforms.
Okay, that's where I want to boost it. So let's find the volume level. That one back over here. Hopefully that's going to work the way I want it to.
On YouTube, iTunes, and other audio streaming platforms.
Okay, may have gone a little hot there.
Don't look so gloomy.
Okay, at that point I want it to come back down for her sound, for her sign off. Move this in a bit. Come on, move over, move over. You're not going to move over, are you? That's why. Okay, let's shift her over there. And then we can go back here and bring the volume back up. Now let's hear that, how that sounds.
Right now you can find Welcome to the Club on YouTube, iTunes, and other audio streaming platforms.
Don't look so gloomy.
I am Ana Medeiros for Say Radio.
Okay, I'm going to go back and just adjust that a little bit right here. That comes up a little fast. There we go. And let's hear how we sound here.
Don't look so gloomy. Don't look so gloomy.
I am Ana Medeiros for Say Radio.
No fear, love went through me, but it all snaps back, shine.
All right, so that's where I want to end it. So let's put a cut in here. This part here I'm going to delete. We don't need that part. We're going to go back over here and we're going to fade it down at the end. So in theory, this should work nicely at the end.
I am Ana Medeiros for Say Radio.
No fear, love went through me, but it all snaps back, shine.
And that's the end of your report. I'm just going to move her voice track a little bit further up. Thought it was just a, oops, back over here.
I am Ana Medeiros for Say Radio.
I think that works a bit better. Now you've got the whole thing done. You want to mix it down. So you go to multi-track, mix down session to new file, and you want the entire session. All right, and there you've got your whole report. So let's have a listen.
Did I hear you say you got hurt?
Mika Barnes, Canadian crooner, has released the video for his track Welcome to the Club, part of his album Vegas Breeze. The jazz album was inspired by the 60s, the style he says he followed by listening to unusual songs in the showroom era.
I didn't really quite realize that I was bringing songs from that sort of showroom era to the band. We're like putting together different arrangements, different approaches, and figuring out like what supports my vocal the most. Everything that you hear on the recording would have been possible in 1964 or 1962. There's nothing modern on it. There's no synthesizers or drum beats or anything like that. You know, it's all real instruments and real singing.
Did I hear the feeling when you're stung?
Vegas Breeze was released when the COVID-19 pandemic started. He had to perform a 14 days tour online.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna say it was exhausting. I'm not gonna lie, it was hard. We did a 14 city tour right from my living room, and it's weird. And then eventually, as we came in and out of lockdown, I would say I got a lot more used to the online performing.
With the new wave, he decided to create a new song and video. That's why now you can find Welcome to the Club on YouTube, iTunes, and other audio streaming platforms.
Here, here, here. Don't look so gloomy. Here, here, here.
I am Ana Medeiros for Say Radio.
No fear. Love went through me, but it all snaps back. Child.
And there you go. You've got your edited track for your jazz musician report. We're going to save it as a WAV file. Jazz musician mix down. I'm just going to take out the mix down. We're just going to call it jazzmusician.wave. It's going to my drive. It's in WAV format, 44100, 32-bit, all good. Click OK and save it. And you're done.